Hello, everybody. Happy Wednesday. It's time for Troop Talk Live, everybody. It's the best day of the month for sure. My name is Aaron, but I am by far the least important person on the show today. We are joined by a couple of, talk about VIPs today. You all know Angelique. She is a volunteer, just like all of you. She's the chair of the Scouts BSA committee. Angelique, how are you doing today?
I'm great. Happy to be here.
Thank you so much for joining us. And in the middle of us right now, wow. I mean, again, talk about a VIP. Garfield is the national director of the Scouts BSA program. He's a pro. We put that in quotation marks. Garfield, how are you today?
Hey, thank you for having me.
So glad to have you here. What's up, Wendy? Good to see you. The topic of today's show, this is a good one, folks. We're going to talk about a pilot program that is currently in the process of launching, about to launch. Angelique, you're going to fill us in on the details here in just a second. It's really interesting. It's very exciting, and we're going to go over the details of how that works. But before we get started, Angelique, I always like to kind of set the stage for folks. Let's explain to everybody first the current structure of Scouts BSA troops. We allowed girls in Scouts BSA. It's been a few years now, right? Yeah, 5 years. Time flies when you're having fun, everybody. Okay. Can you describe to us, mostly for me, but also for our viewers, the current structure of Scouts BSA troops when it comes to gender? What are the guidelines and rules on how it works right now?
Sure. You can have a boys troop and you can have a girls troop. And so a chartering organization can pick to run a boys troop, or they can pick to run a girls troop. We have this other model called a linked troops, which are, you have a chartering organization that has a boys troop and they have a girls troop, and they share a committee. And that's the only thing that they really share, is the committee. And that's to help make the troops easier to run. But they still separate troops. So it's a boy troop and a girls troop. So those are your current options: our standalone boys troop or standalone girls troop, or standalone boys and girls troop that are joined by a linked committee.
Got you. Thank you very much, Angelique. Appreciate that. Shout out to Stephanie, who's watching from Texarkana, Arkansas. And shout out to Jen, who's watching from St. Louis. She's actually at summer camp, it looks like right now, Camp Gamble. Thank you, Jen, for watching. Rob says he's interested in hearing about this pilot. I am too, Rob. That's why I'm here today. Garfield, sir, the next question will be for you. Again, to kind of set the stage here, the Scouting America will occasionally start a pilot program. This is not the first time we've done this, obviously, but can you maybe tell us all the purpose of pilot programs, how that works, and stuff like that?
Sure thing. Now, the idea of a pilot is a test. This gives us an opportunity to evaluate a particular situation. And at the ending of a pilot, we gather all of that data because we do surveys and those individuals that are involved into the pilot. And then we come to a conclusion. And based off the feedback of them that we receive from the participants, we can either decide to move forward and implement this strategy into our program, or we might decide, based off the feedback, that now is not the right time, or it doesn't meet the needs of our customers as we thought that it does.
Yeah, it's interesting how you say customers. It's very much like product testing or something like that, right? We're trying to figure out how best to serve our families and potential new families. Again, it's worth noting that the organization has done multiple pilot programs over the years. Some of them stick around and become programs that we've all heard of today. Some of them you've probably never heard of for good reason. Maybe they never made it past the pilot stage, right? So we're going to be watching the progress of this particular program here over the next, months or years. Angelique, maybe you could tell us about this. We're talking about the combined troop pilot program. Tell us about this. Why are we doing this? What's going to happen?
Sure. I'd be happy to. Okay, so I'm a unit leader. I'm a mom, and I have scouts in the program of my own, and I am scoutmaster, and I'm a committee chair. I'm also a commissioner, so I am in the program, seeing it on the ground, and you and I may have heard that some people are asking for another model for Scouts BSA. They would like to be able to send their boys and girls, like their sons or their daughters, to the same troop instead of having two separate troops. And we get asked that a lot. Pretty much every time Garfield or I are somewhere speaking, we get asked that question. Why don't we have that? And there's a variety of reasons that people would like to do that. And I don't need to get into all of those today, but there are lots of reasons that sometimes people would like to send their kids to one unit that serves both boys and girls. And instead of saying, I think there's a pattern, we decided to do a little data research and find out if that's actually the case, if it was something that people wanted. Now, I had a hunch, right, that this is something that some people wanted, but I want to know data. I want to know how many people want it. So one of the things that we did in part of the survey that went out earlier this year was ask people, ask the Scouts themselves, like, what are your preferences? Would you like to be in an all-girls troop? Would you like to be in an all-boys troop? Would you like to be in a troop that serves both boys and girls? And the fun and interesting thing was 60% of the girls said that they would prefer a troop that had both boys and girls in it. And 40% of the boys said they also would prefer that. So that shows that there's a split between what people want and what we're currently offering. Nearly half of our Scouts would prefer a different model. So that shows us that there's an interest, there in a model that we're not offering. So we took that data and we said, hey, I wonder maybe we need to offer this as another option, and we need to do some research on it to make sure that we know going into it that it's going to work before we release it to a larger group. So that's what the pilot's all about.
Very, very good. Rob was watching us on YouTube. We are live on YouTube, everybody. Says he's very interested in this. He has a son and a daughter in Scouting America. He's the Scoutmaster for his daughter. Rob, first of all, thank you for volunteering. We appreciate that very much. Second of all, I'm interested as well. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it. Kristen says, as a Scout mom with kids in both the boys and girls troops, she's excited to learn about the pilot program. We are too. Kristen, I'm looking at the comments. Angelique, what are the dates of this pilot? What kind of time frame are we talking about?
Sure. So the pilot itself is going to run September 1st of this year through July 31st of 2025. And we have lots of details and we're going to share. And I know there's already lots of comments that are lots of comments asking these questions.
We're getting to them, guys. We're getting to it. Yeah. We're getting to
a lot of it. So the pilot is going to run and starting September. So there's a lot of details here. I don't know where you wanted me to jump in. But the pilot will help the National Executive Board make the decision on the model. So we will be collecting the feedback from all the people participating in the pilot, and then passing it along to the National Executive Board to decide whether or not this model becomes something that we offer in the future. So it's a really important thing that we're doing, and we're kind of doing it at a big scale so we can see how it's working across the country and not just in small places.
And if I can add on to that, I just want to make sure that everybody understands that this becomes a potential third option.
Yes.
Meaning that our chartered organizations who basically currently have a male troop or female troop can continue on doing what they do. So we're looking at this as a potential opportunity for our chartered organizations to have another option to serve their community.
Yeah, I think that's probably an important word, right? Option.
Yeah.
If this pilot moves forward beyond the pilot stage, it will become a third option. And one thing I want to mention real quick, guys, we talk about data a lot on our live videos. We've talked about it a lot this past 7-8 months. We talked about the new Cub Scout program updates. We're really lucky to have volunteers like Angelique. We're really lucky to have professionals like Garfield, but neither Garfield nor Angelique makes these kind of decisions on their own, on a whim, just because Garfield wants something, just because Angelique wants something. They never ask me what I think, which is weird, but these decisions are made based on data. And the pilot program is one way to collect data. And as Angelique says, it starts in September. I can't believe it's really just a couple of months away, 6-7 weeks away.
Yes, yeah. So it's we're actually, and we'll talk about this when we talk about who can participate and how they know they're selected and everything. We'll talk about those dates in a minute. But
Okay.
I want to explain a little bit about what the combined troop is. Like, what is the difference between what we're currently offering? So the current troop is single gender and has a scoutmaster and has an SPL. And even if you're a linked troop, you still have two scoutmaster for each boys troop and a girls troop, and then you have an SPL for each boys troop and a girls troop. Even if they're linked, they're still separate troops. This would be a troop that has one unit with one scoutmaster and one SPL, but could have both boys and girls in the same unit. They still, however, are following youth protection guidelines, and there's lots of things that we'll be sharing with the units as we go forward, but it would be one SPL and one scoutmaster and one committee.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you very much. Garfield, maybe you can answer this next question for me. Who can participate in the pilot program? How does that selection process work?
Sure.
And yeah, give us a little behind the scenes view there.
Okay, so basically, we initially had the discussion with all of our Scout executives, and we informed them on the opportunity to take part into the pilot. So councils had the option to want to take part, to be involved into dealing with this pilot. Some councils said yes, some councils said no. And based off of that, those councils that have stated that they are interested in taking part into the pilot are now communicating to many of their linked troops and saying to them, hey, would you be interested to take part in actually being engaged in doing this pilot, being able to give feedback, be willing to give your opinion on everything that takes place in reference to troop operations as this pilot continues. So that's currently where we are right now. So first off, for our listeners, you need to find out if your council has stated that they want to take part into the pilot. And if they have a conversation with them to find out what are the parameters, what are the things that they need to, that a troop needs to do in order to take an active role in applying to be involved into the pilot.
Yeah, so to be clear, some councils can opt in. Councils have the opportunity to opt out. We've already got folks asking about specific councils. The best thing to do, guys, is go to your council and ask them. We could go over the list, but it would take a really long time, and that process is still ongoing. If a council does opt in, Garfield, how do they decide, if they have multiple troops maybe that are interested in participating? Who do they give? What kind of troops get preference and things like that?
Sure. What we want to do for those that are involved into this is we really want to have our linked troops to take part into this pilot because they're better prepared from the standpoint of having currently a male troop and a female troop and a chartered organization. So they're already meeting. So on all intents and purposes, the merging of these two units is not as much of a complicated task. And as I stated before, this is a pilot that has a beginning and an end. So at the ending of this pilot, and if by chance the decision is not to incorporate this, because after the evaluation is found out that this is not really supporting our needs as we thought that it does, and if the pilot and the combined troop option is decided not to move forward, you're least likely to have the challenge of new scouts that have joined a troop during the pilot to be confused in reference to programming because they're already going to the same location that they're meeting at. They already know the same leaders. So all intents and purposes, the difference would be that male troop and that female troop, instead of meeting together as one group, well, they'll just start meeting separately as they initially are doing today.
Gotcha.
It's really about giving choice. It's giving choices to the chartering organization because there are some chartering organizations that would like their units to say single gender, and that's okay. There are some chartering organizations that would like to offer a program to both boys and girls together, and that's okay. So there are some families who would like to have the choice to keep it all boys or all girls, That's okay. They should have that. There are some families who would like to offer it to both boys and girls, and that's okay too. They should have that. We are simply, by this pilot, attempting to give people another choice to better meet the needs of their families. So if your family and your chartering organization feel that it would meet your needs best to stay single gender, then you should. If you feel that it would meet your needs better to try a combined unit, then we are seeking to test that option in the field.
And it's also, just to add on to that, it's the families that are involved into the program. So you have to have the families, the scouts, the leaders,
right?
Say all in. We're willing to do this. We're willing to give it a try. And keep in mind, a pilot is a test. We expect some of our units that take part into this pilot decide after as it's going on that this is not the right fit for them. That's fine. It's a test. It gives us an opportunity to gather data. So it is so important that we gather as much data as possible to evaluate what are our strengths and what our weaknesses are as we support our troops in this particular manner. I
think a lot of people maybe don't believe us when we say that it's optional. All I can say is it's optional, but that's all we can say about that. A lot of folks are asking how to find out if their council is participating, if their unit wants to participate. Garfield, what's the process there? If we have a scoutmaster who says, hey, I want to participate in this pilot, what do you recommend that they do?
I recommend that they have a conversation with their executive. That could be their district executive, that can be whoever is responsible in their service area, and communicate to the councils. And at the council leadership will be able to inform them if they are involved, if they agreed to take part into the pilot.
And yeah, I was just going to add, if a unit doesn't want to participate, I can give you advice. You don't have to participate. Sorry, go ahead, Angela.
Yeah, so it's totally it's up to the councils whether or not they want to participate, and then it's up to the units and the chartering organizations to have a discussion. So one of the things that you will likely see this week, if you have not seen it, if your council is participating, they have been given a guide to share with interested units that are interested in exploring this pilot. The guide prompts you to have a discussion with your chartering organization and your chartering organization representative to see if they're on board. Then the next group of people should be all of the adults who are registered with the unit. They should have a discussion. Do we want to do this or not? Then all the parents should have a discussion of all the scouts that are in the unit. Do we want to do this or not? And then all the scouts should be asked, do you want to do this or not? Is this something you want to do? If at any point you have enough people who say, no, we really don't want to, then we are recommending you should not do that. You should not apply for the pilot because that means it's not for you. So it's about having these conversations with both units that are thinking about it and all the people who are interested in it to make sure every single person is on the same page before you explore this as an option to participate.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Very spirited discussion going on in the comments. So far, for the most part, Scouts, we're being courteous and kind and friendly for the most part. So let's just keep it that way, everybody. Angelique, if a unit wants to participate, talks to their council, how will they find out if they've been selected or not?
Sure. So the first thing that will happen is the council will let them know that they've been one of the units selected. And then after that, our committee, Garfield and myself, our committee will be contacting them with information. They will be given training on what the expectations are for the unit. They will be getting contact from us every month, and they will be expected to participate in all of the surveys that go out each month to evaluate how things are going, what are their recommendations, what are they struggling with, because all of that will be used to inform the next step of the pilot process. And then they're also going to talk to us and agree that if the pilot doesn't go through, then the two units will decouple and become a single gender boys and girls unit again. So that's the reason that right now for the pilot, we're asking mostly linked troops to participate if they're interested. And it's because if the pilot doesn't go through, if it doesn't become an option, we want them to have units to go back to, right? We wouldn't want to start a pilot, invite scouts, and then at the end of the pilot, lose kids because they don't have a unit to return to. So that is why it is a limited pilot, and we are trying to aim it at linked troops right now.
Awesome, awesome. Daryl says he's going to be contacting his council about participating in the pilot. Jeremy says they've already contacted their council and they're supposed to get the paperwork soon. Very, very cool, guys. Appreciate your enthusiasm, positivity, willingness to participate. Garfield, question for you. Once a unit is selected, okay, once they're in the pilot program, they're going to start in September. What are their responsibilities moving forward?
Sure thing. Well, the key things that, as Angelique stated, is to take part in the survey, to take part when we inquire about what the experience is, to be able to respond to us in a timely manner and really give us details on what is working and what is not working. We really don't need data that says everything is fuzzy and we're rainbows and unicorns. We need to hear things that this is a challenge that we're having, because then the Scouts BSA committee can work on creating resources and being able to support those units if the pilot is approved and this becomes the new way that we offer scouting to some of our troops. Now, another thing that's very important is once a unit has been approved, that a representative takes part into webinars that we will be offering, so it is that they have a clear understanding of what the expectations are as their troop functions. And on to the purposes, we want our troops to function that take part into this pilot as a combined troop to have the following. You should have only one scoutmaster. You should have only one scene patrol leader. You should have one COR. So those are the things that we basically want our combined troops to take part in. And all of these things are listed basically into the Scouts BSA handbook. So as you have the Scouts BSA handbook and identifies the structure of the troop, that is the structure that you should be incorporating as you take part into this pilot and run your troop all together. That should be the structure that works best for you.
So since you mentioned it, Garfield, maybe I'll ask real quick. One of our viewers is asking, a linked troop by definition currently has 2 scoutmasters. If they participate in the pilot, that will go down obviously to 1 scoutmaster. Angelique or Garfield, either one, how do we address that?
Yeah, so part of the decision guide that is going to be shared with units from your council that are interested in participating is we have those conversations before we even offer to be in the pilot, that we're deciding how are we going to handle this as a group. Like, what do we want to happen? Do we want the scoutmasters to step into different positions? Who's gonna do what? So that those conversations happen ahead of time and there's a plan and nobody's blindsided by it. That is why both units in the conversation, everyone needs to be a part of this conversation on whether or not we should participate. It is not one unit who says we're participating and we're taking this other unit with us. It is both units who have to fully agree to participate in this. One unit can't tell another unit that they're going to do this. Everyone, scouts, parents, leaders, need to all be on the same page before we start. And that's a huge important component of it. And that is why there's a guide that's going to go out that has all that information on it about here are all the things you need to talk about before you offer to be part of this pilot.
Yeah, you're coming in from the standpoint, those two troops have to have the mindset, okay, as combined, we are equals. We're going to work together. Now, as we work together, one of us is going to take the lead role on certain things, and the other one is going to be the support mechanism. But the idea is the fact is you have to be on the same page, working together, equal capacity as we test this out.
So, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, correct me if I'm wrong, Angelique, these are conversations that are had before you officially begin the program. You decide in advance who's going to be the scoutmaster, how you're going to handle the SPL, and because there's other positions like that, right, where there's just one person. All that is, you're encouraged to work that out. You have to work that out before you even start. Am I right on that? Yes, you are, because
this pilot is not for everybody, and the combined troop model that we're piloting is not for everybody. There are lots and lots of troops who it would better serve them to stay as they are, and we are encouraging them to do that. But there are enough people who have said, we would like this option. We would like this to be a possibility because it would better suit our needs. And those needs might be, we're from a very rural area and we have 3 girls and 3 boys in the whole town. So in some cases like that, this might be a better option for them. So that is why we are making it an option, and we're highly encouraging you to think real hard about it before you apply for the pilot, and to work with everybody in both units.
And if you're thinking right now, I don't know how we would work that out, that's okay. You're supposed to have discussions about that. And in fact, Garfield, again, correct me if I'm wrong, that piece of paper you just held up, units will be provided with a specific guide to sort of help them talk through all the necessary talking points and things like that. Is that right?
Yes. All of our councils that have stated that they're taking part into the pilot have received the document that Angelique held up. That's that discussion guide. So for our listeners today, reach out to your council. If the council says, yes, we are part of the pilot council, then the next question is, do you have the discussion guide document that you can send me to help me decide if this is going to fit our troop?
And from there, they will make the decision that's best for that unit.
So
Exactly.
So then there's a memorandum of understanding for a unit. So if they would like to participate in the pilot, they can apply. So then they would ask their council, scout executive, or their designee to have that MOU if the council is participating, and they fill out each troop that's intending to participate. They would fill out the MOU and say, here we go. We've had the discussion with all of our vested interested parties. So the adults, the parents, and the scouts. We all agree this is a good idea. We are submitting our MOU to our council that we would like to participate. And just because you submit the MOU, the memorandum of understanding, does not mean you will be selected for the pilot, but it means you have applied to be part of the pilot.
Exactly. And if I can add on to that, now, once you've applied to the pilot and you've been approved, also keep in mind, you can submit your paperwork, you can apply, you can be approved, you can start off doing this pilot. And in the course of the pilot, you say, nope, folks, this does not work for us. Mm-hmm. That is fine. Yep. Because then that tells us, okay, we will need to survey your scouts and survey your leaders and say, okay, please tell us what didn't work. So we being at a national level volunteers can say, all right, let's see, can we address some of these concerns or issues? Because maybe these issues are beyond the fact of the combined pilot scenario. These could be operational issues that we can look at supporting for Scouts BSA. So please don't, if you decide that we're going to give us a shot and it doesn't work out, that's fine. It is a test.
Right. It's a pilot. It's a pilot.
It's a pilot. That's exactly right.
The reason we're addressing it here in a big group like this is because we know that there's lots of questions, and we know that people want more information on it. And one of the things that I see a lot on the internet, because I look at the internet, right, is that, National doesn't share information with us. This is us sharing information with you. And, I'm telling you, I'm a unit leader. I'm active at my council level. I'm active in my unit. I see it. I know it. So this is us sharing with you exactly what we're doing and exactly what the purpose is of the pilot. And so it's not a mystery. So it's not like, why are you doing this? What's going on? Because we want to learn from the field. We want to see what's going on, see if we can address it and make it better for everybody, right?
Yeah, it's pretty cool to have both of you on today, by the way. I just want to point out, this is almost kind of like the key 2. You guys have all heard, I think, the expression key 3. This is the key 2 of the National Scouts BSA program. Angelique on the volunteer side, Garfield on the professional side. And again, so I want to point out real quick, this pilot it begins in September. It runs all the way through basically until next year, right around this time. We're going to look at you guys are going to look, I'm not going to do it, thankfully. You guys are going to look at the good and the bad. The great thing about any pilot program, right, like we said before, product testing, is that we don't really know what could go wrong. There could be issues that come up that we're needs you guys to tell us about that we might have never thought of. That's the whole purpose of doing the pilot program in the first place, is to learn about these things. At that point or sometime thereafter, correct me if I'm wrong, Angelique or Garfield, the decision will be made as to whether or not to expand the pilot or to just shut it down. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Garfield, you want to talk about that one?
Sure. In a nutshell, basically, after the pilot has been done, and we're talking in 2025, so in August, we'll do our closeout survey and analysis and evaluation and so forth, gathering all that data, which will then be presented to our National Executive Board and the National Executive Committee. And they will go over the data, they'll go over the information and make the decision and say, yes, this is something as another option that will be made available to chartered organizations, or they might say, based off the data and the feedback, this is not viable. This does not meet the needs as we thought it would meet the needs. Maybe we need to look at another way of incorporating troop operations. So if the idea comes that they say, yes, we will, we're all for it and we agree to it, in 2026, it will be made available, and it will be done on Scout Sunday, Scout Sabbath. So it is as an announcement, and if everything goes great, then that option will be made available.
And again, I just want to remind everybody, use the word option. Nobody is going to be forced to accept young people of either gender into their troop. Whatever you guys are doing now, whatever is working for you now, you are welcome to continue doing that if it's in the best interest of the families that you serve, your chartered organization, all that stuff like that. Angelique, you mentioned earlier the possibility of a rural troop. This might be convenient. Jeremy chimes in and says, that's us. We're a mostly rural troop with a very successful family pack, but it's difficult to split the kids up when they go into Scouts BSA. So he's looking forward to giving this pilot a shot. This has been a very exciting show, guys. A lot of spirit in the comments. One of the stories I always like to tell, I was a Cub Master, guys, back when it was first announced that young girls could join Cub Scouts. And, you know, the process that we went through, I imagine the process that a lot of Cub Scout volunteers went through. We went to our chartered organization and we said, you know, what do you think we should do? Should we allow girls? Should we not allow girls? And they said pretty simply, we would prefer that you not allow girls. So guess what we did? We remained an all-boy Cub Scout pack. It was totally fine. Everybody was happy. It worked out great for everybody. And that is always an option for all of you watching. Angelique and Garfield, thanks so much for joining us today. Any final thoughts before we let you guys go? Anything we haven't talked about that we need to get to?
I think we covered it all. I think we covered a lot of it. So just so you know, anything that didn't get addressed here that you think that we missed, it's probably going to be shared with the units that are participating. So there are a lot of details of the pilot that are nitty gritty that are going to take quite some time for us to go over with each of the units that are participating. So that information, it's there, but it's going to be shared with the units that are participating. But I do want to thank everybody for sharing their comments. And I especially want to thank the people that remember to be friendly, courteous, and kind in the comments.
And if I could just, I could just leave a couple comments stating the fact is, if you are interested into the pilot, please communicate that with your Scout executive and your council and saying, hey, we'd like to know, can we take part into this? We have an interest, right? And keep in mind, this is a test. And with all said and done, if we move forward with this, it will be an option. So the chartered organization will always look and say, what is the best way to meet the needs of our community? So it could be a single gender troop. It could be a linked troop, or it could be this option. So keep in mind, these are options to meet the needs of the community.
This has been a great show, a lot of comments, most of them very, very fair. We appreciate all you guys watching at home. You can always tag a friend in your comments if you think someone else might be interested in learning more about this. When we're done here in just another minute or so, this video will stay live on whatever channel you're watching it on, YouTube, Facebook, whatever it is. You can always go back and watch it again. Angelique, Garfield, thank you so much for joining us today. This concludes our show, everybody. We'll be back next month with another episode of Troop Talk Live. Thank you guys. Appreciate it. Bye, everybody. See you, Angelique. See you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.